Everybody, welcome. I'm Tom Vasel, and this is the first of many live Q&As that we'll be doing this week. And I tried to make them all different. With me today and tonight, my wife, after much pleading on my part, is going to join me for a short Q&A. And then I believe on Wednesday you'll have Sam and Z, and I think tomorrow you'll have all three of us. And Jason is on Friday. So there's a lot of different Q&As going on, but I just thought this would be the week for that. It's the end of the year. If you have questions to ask, go ahead and ask them in the comments. We will answer, I will answer some of them. I'm not going to answer all of them. Ask your question multiple times does not mean that I will answer it. I just pick the ones I think are interesting, and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. So with that being said, first of all, Merry Christmas to everybody and a happy, happy New Year. I got one present for Christmas. That was the BB-8. My family bought that for me. I would not have bought it for myself. I thought it was cool, but I don't know. The price was high, and I was like, it's just a toy. Well, it is just a toy. But I feel like I have a pet now. I'll BB-8, and like every day I just put him in my room and let him run around for a while. And he runs around. It just makes me. I look at him. He's cute, and it's weird. Growing an emotional attachment to a droid. This is where it all went downhill in Battlestar Galactica. I don't know. I like it. Okay. Let's see here. We'll start answering your questions. Will you show us how you shuffle cards for games like deck builders, where you may have 15 to 20 cards? All right. Here they are. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cards, okay? And this is what I do for deck builders. I just shuffle them like this. Then I'll shuffle them the other way. So make sure I put cards on top, put cards on bottom, put cards on top, and I just do this for a while. I deliberately take my mind out of it, and I do it for, who knows, until I feel like they've been shuffled a lot. And then I'm done. Sometimes I'll do this too, just to mix them up even more. After I'm done with that, then of course I'll shuffle them a bit more like that. It gives them a good shuffle. That's how I do it. Do you ever buy backup copies of games? I would never do such a thing. Do you actively catalog your games? Well, yeah, on Board Game Geek, there is a pretty much up-to-date of my collection. Do you think Melody is more of a Euro gamer than you? She is certainly more of a Euro gamer than I am. Do you Star Trek Fleet Captain still relevant? Ish. Has anything replaced it? Not yet. All right. What new hats did you get for Christmas? I did not get any new hats for Christmas. How long will your firework display last this weekend? Maybe an hour? I don't know. It all depends. I bought fewer fireworks this year, but I bought bigger ones, so I hope they're more grandiose and interesting. What is my favorite Chinese food? Buddha jumped over the wall. Now, I'm assuming we're talking about American Chinese food. If we go to China itself, the best food I had when I was there was duck, honestly. But for the American ones, Buddha jumped over the wall. Or Happy Family. Let's see. Top 10 questions asked to wife and girls during QAs that you think would be interesting. No, that's okay. What's your ranking of all the Star Wars films from worst to best? Well, best for me is still Return of the Jedi. That one's easy for me to say. That's my favorite. My least favorite is number 2, Attack of the Clones. I don't know. Like I said, Return of the Jedi's first. I might put the new movie as number 2. If not that one, then Star Wars itself. So we'll just say, for now, Force Awakens is number 2, then Star Wars number 3, then number 4, Empire Strikes Back. Number 5, I'm going to say it's a tie between Phantom Menace and whatever number 3 was called. And that's partially because while there's a lot of moments I really dislike from the Phantom Menace, I love the pod race and I love the lightsaber duels. They're two of my favorite scenes from Star Wars, period. I like them a lot. And the same thing with the number 3. I really like the Wookiees, finally seeing them in battle, and I really enjoyed some of the different events there, but there's a lot I didn't like from it also. So, yeah, I don't hate the prequels as much as most people do. I find them enjoyable movies. For the most part, I think the love story is very, very contrived and poorly done. But for the most part, I like them. I mean, Jar Jar Binks is kind of annoying, but he becomes less so. But I love the pod race, and I love the lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. In fact, I'm sorry that Darth Maul died so early, because it'd be interesting had he stuck around. But anyway, that's my ranking. Okay. Any word on the Caverna expansion? Last I heard, there was no expansion in the works. The only thing I saw was that small, there was in a magazine or Mayfair as a small mini expansion for it. That's it. Is there any chance of a legendary DC compatible with the Marvel version? That would be beyond awesome. That would be beyond awesome. I don't know if such a thing is being considered by Upper Deck. I don't know. That'd be cool though, for sure. What do you think of Asmodee Fantasy Flight's blocking of online sales? Well, I talked about that in Board Game Breakfast at length, so you can see that there. They're not going to be blocking all online sales. I think they're restricting it to approved online sales, which is probably likely going to be a place you bought from anyway. How did you convince your wife to do a Q&A? I kind of stuck out my lip and said, please, it's for the good of the Dice Tower. We have a Kickstarter coming next week. Come and say hi to everybody. Just got X-Wing for Christmas. What ships do you recommend to get next? The A-Wing and the TIE Fighter Advanced. I would get those. Maybe a Y-Wing and the TIE Fighter Interceptors. You know, just a couple ships from both sides. I think that's what I would get next, just so you have some variety. Who's coming to your gaming marathon? Well, that's mostly just the core Dice Tower guys, although it does include Eric Summerer this year. That is an interesting question that has an answer you're probably not going to like. And you said here, I'm just wondering, says Milton, are there any games that have poor rule books, but the game turned out to be good or even great? There are many, many great games with bad rule books. So that's just a long list. Was there any board games that you were hoping to get for Christmas? No, I told my family not to buy me anything. I'm just very happy with what I have, I suppose. I wanted an iPad Pro, but I wasn't going to ask them to spend that kind of money on me at all. Nonsense. BB-8 was cool, though. I wasn't expecting that, but I don't want games ever. Are you kidding? I get lots and lots of games. I don't need games for Christmas, ever. Someone asked me here, do you like Raiders of the North Sea better or Champions of Midgard? I just got Raiders of the North Sea in the mail 5 minutes before we started this Q&A, so I do not know. I'm hoping I like both, but we'll find out. Are we going to do top 10s of certain themes like top 10 space games? We did that. Top 10 pirate games, that's coming. Are we going to be doing a 24-hour gaming live stream this year? We're going to be doing a marathon gaming live stream. How long that lasts is up to you, the viewers. And that's going to start next Thursday, I believe, at 10 a.m. So keep an eye out for that. Do you think we'll be seeing more family games from Haba and Blue Orange? Definitely from Blue Orange. They told me that that's their goal. From Haba, I hope so. I hope these initial three, which, by the way, incidentally, you may have noticed an absence of those games from our lists. I think Z might have put one of his on his top 10, but they are not out in English yet. They just came out this week in English, so I'm counting them all as 2016 games. Adventureland, which is my favorite of the three, is definitely not out yet. That won't be out till Q1 of 2016, but that certainly would have made my top 20 games of the year had it come out. There's two games that I played recently that would have hit my top 20. Adventureland is one and World of Yoho is another. In fact, I think both of those would have made Melody's top 10 too. So we'll see. Does BB-8 bring new meaning to roll and move for you? Why, yes. It actually, it's almost like, wow, you look at the technology, like it's amazing. I see the robot in the movie and I'm like, I guess they actually can do that. It's just, he roams around. I mean, he fell down the stairs once and it's okay for wear, and he sometimes gets stuck, like, we got extension cords laying around here for obvious reasons, and sometimes he'll get stuck in like a loop of an extension cord. But other than that, he seems to be okay. Favorite video games of 2015? This is a really bad question to ask me because I play like 2 or 3 video games. I think Pillars of Eternity was my 2015 purchase, and I enjoyed it. Got to the, really fizzled out on it because got to my limit of leveling up. I think level 20 was the highest you get or whatever it was, and I couldn't level up anymore. I got to the bad guy and I cannot beat him, which drives me nuts. So. What would I rate the new Star Wars movie? I would rate that an 8. Maybe 9, but I really liked it. On another note, do you see any competition between reviewers, friendly or not, as in the first to review a game? Despite what anyone may tell you, there is definitely competition. Now, hopefully, it is all friendly competition. This is the same thing when board game companies come out and they'll be like, well, we're really not competing with one another. We're all, doing this. That's not true. Okay, there's certainly friendly competition, sometimes not so friendly, but most of the time friendly. But the fact is, if someone buys one game, they're not spending the money on one of your games. You can be glad that the gaming hobby is increasing, but game publishers would prefer that you buy from them. Same thing is with reviewers. I mean, I hope other reviewers do well. I do not wish ill will on them at all. But we're definitely in competition. And any reviewer that says, well, I'm not really in competition with everyone else, that's not really quite true, because otherwise, why would you rush to get the reviews out first? We all want to get the scoops on the big games, and I'm thrilled when we do. And when I turn on the internet and see that Dan King or Rado or someone else has scooped me on everything, I'm like, But that's about it, right? Just, they beat me to it. Whatever. Let's move on. Because it's not, that it really doesn't matter at the end of time. But I firmly believe you should treat all this stuff like competition. A friendly one, of course, but why would I not strive to push myself to be better? As you can see, hopefully, I think, you can see a gigantic difference between when we first started and where we are now in our video quality. But I think you can see a difference from the beginning of 2015 till now. I'm always thinking, what can we do to be better? Just in the past couple weeks, we started doing all our videos in 1080. And I'm hoping that that's a better thing. That was tough for us to try to figure out how we could do that because of the space that 1080, with as many videos as we put out, and then doing them all in 1080, that really increases the space. But I think so far it's done well. I just recently took the Dice Tower audio and made it into the video podcast, which also seems that people enjoy that. So I'm hoping that sometimes we try things that don't work, and sometimes someone will do something better than me. But anytime someone does something better than me, we look at it and say, okay, what did they do better? How can we compete with that? Not that I'm trying to compete with them, but it's making ourselves better. And in the long run, it's amazing for the consumer that this happens. What are you looking forward to most when you come to UK next year? There's 2 things. One, London. You have to realize that, I know that there's a whole lot of the Yanks versus England type thing going on from long ago, but England has a lot of history, a ton of history that I would love to see. I want to go to any country, but since we are going to the UK, I just want to see history. And I know that I don't have the chance to go all over England and Scotland and Ireland and all that to see the history, so London seems like a possibility, so I love to see something there. And if there's anything nerdy, I always am on the lookout for that. Like, what are nerdy things to do in London? Like when I went out to LA a couple of years ago, I was like, what nerdy things are there? I found a giant candy store, and I found a shop that sold all kinds of nerd stuff. That's something I'm always interested in. Then secondly, I want to try to fish and chips. I'm always interested in local foods from different places. Have you had any sneak peeks into Rob Daviau's upcoming legacy games, Seafall and Chronicles Origins? No, and in fact, Rob is very gracious, very nice, and has offered for me to look at both of those games, and so has Artana Games has offered me to see Chronicle Origins, and I said no to all of those because I want to go into these games totally fresh, totally like, ooh, so what is Seafall about? I've refrained from getting any spoilers about either one of these games because I just want to go into it with like those fresh eyes. So I won't even read any articles that have been written on the subject. When I play Seafall for the first time, I want to be just surprised at what happens. Have you ever read anything from John Piper? I have. Okay, and there went all the questions at the bottom again. I'm nodding my head so that you know that I haven't frozen here on your screen. Let's see. Darth Maul's alive and well? It's canon? Well, who knows? I guess he's such a good villain that they had to bring him back somehow. According to Stanford Mathematics, Professor Percy Diaconi from Stanford, says Andrew, only a riffle shuffle 7 times is truly random. Your shuffle method would take 10,000 times. That's probably true, and there's probably 4 or 5 people in the world who care about that. If I play with one of them and they insist that I shuffle it 10,000 times, we will probably play a different game or with different people. It's random enough for me. Have you ever played a Brazilian game? Well, interestingly enough, the first Dice Tower Essential game is called Sheriff of Nottingham, which is originally a Brazilian game, so for sure. Is Kemet catching Cosmic Encounter for you? No, I don't think so. My top 10 is pretty strong games, but Cosmic, the only game that ever came close, and well, it did beat out Cosmic, was Duel of Ages. But Cosmic kind of edged out there for me. It is strange that Streamlined Imperial Assault is lower in your top 100 games than Descent, and it's because there's less content for Imperial Assault. Do you really have used current Imperial Assault content fully? I have not. Okay, I have not played with the Twin Shadows expansion or with the new Hoth expansion that just came out. But I just don't have as much time to get campaign games at a table as much these days. If I play with all that, I possibly would change my mind. I mean, it's very, very possible and probable that things would change. But as it is, I really do like Descent, and I agree that there's a lot of things in Imperial Assault that are streamlined, but I still really like Descent. I received Time Stories for Christmas. Would it be okay to play with my 13 and 14-year-old kids? I think so. Yeah, like I said, I feel like it's a PG-13 game, and the Marcy case. So take that into account. That's just my opinion, though. They're violent, they're dark, they're a bit occultish, the first one is. So just keep that in mind and where you would do something like that with your kids. Ba-ba-da-boom. What's your guess for the next Seven Wonders expansion? I don't know. Does it need another expansion? But I don't know. The Hanging Gardens, I'll say. What's your favorite Hearthstone deck? Whew. It's been a long time since I played Hearthstone, but I like the one that's I can't remember the names of them now. The one that summons the animals, the guy who's the guy who has traps and things like that. Well, whatever that guy is, I like him the best. Any more Fill in the Marathon? Do we get to vote for games or anything? You will not get to vote for games. In fact, over the next several days, we are going to be putting together the schedule for the marathon because it's important that we know what games we're going to play and when we're going to play them, and that we know the rules for them and so on and so forth. Now, if you have games that you would really like to see be played, hey, I wouldn't be upset if someone went to Board Game Geek and to our Dice Tower forums there and put a poll and said, hey, here's, here's a game list a game you'd like to see them play in a marathon, and thumb this up if you'd like to see it. And if I see a game there that's getting a ton of thumbs up, there's a possibility we'll play it. But I really do take into account, no matter how great I think these games are, how well they look on camera, how much interaction we'll have, because we need to be able to stay awake for 24 hours. So we can't play, like I really like Through the Desert, but I don't know that I'd want to play Through the Desert on like 16 hours of being awake, right? So the top 5 meals you make for your kids? You mean that I make? Well, I'm really happy with what I made for Christmas, which was a sausage shrimp combo. I'm very happy with my beef stew. I think I make a very good beef stew. Fried turkey, grilled chicken, and pasta. What would be the fifth thing that I like making? Oh, mashed potatoes. I do like making mashed potatoes. Okay. Do you think 2016 will be anywhere near as innovative as this year has been? No way to tell. I would just have to make a guess. I have no idea. Have you been offered a job in the board game industry? Have I ever been offered a job? I'm trying to think. I think it's possible. But I'm working for myself, so I would never want to work in a job in the board game industry because I'm really happy where I'm at. I would never want to work for one company. I love that I'm involved with tons and tons of companies. I'm not beholden to any company. If I think a company is doing something wrong or their game is horrible, I can just call them right out for it. So, and I will do so. Do you think any of your kids will end up not liking board games? That's possible. I don't think they'll not like them, but there are some that don't like them as much as others. How do you picture yourself in 10 to 20 years? I don't know. I only look a year or so. Although I'm hoping in 20 years I have some grandkids. Someone there asked what happened to one of our contributors. Our contributors come and flit away as time goes by. I have reviewers. They come and do things for a while, then they get busy with life. If anyone contributes to the Dice Tower in any kind of fashion or role, they're never tied to it unless I'm paying them. They're never tied to it. So, let's say tomorrow Jared stopped making his Witlopedia thing for Board Game Breakfast, or Ryan Metzler has obviously slowed down in his reviews. That doesn't have anything. I don't get mad. I don't yell at them or anything. They can do them or they can't do them. It's up to them. And sometimes people fade away, and that's just what happens. I've never kicked anyone off the show yet that I can think of. Okay. Oh, you got double Tom Thinks segments in today's Board Game Breakfast. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I originally was going to take my Asmodee thing and make it my Tom Thinks. But I need it to wrap up my 10 predictions for 2015 because next time I need to make the 10 for 2016. And then that would be 3 weeks before I even got around to the Asmodee thing. And by then it would have been old news. And I thought I should talk about it now. What's going to happen with the Asmodee thing is it's going to simmer for a while. And then in April, when they put the policies in effect, it's all going to blow up on the internet again. Of course, at that time, we'll know some real information about it, and we'll see what happens. Will you be doing a live playthrough of the Fantasy Time Stories modules? I don't know if we'll do a live playthrough, but we're going to record it, because we've been recording all our Time Story stuff. You reviewed the Gallerist, and it's heavier. Do you think you review some other heavier games like Nippon? Yeah, it's just that heavier games, there's a certain group of people that I have to play those games with, usually Jason and such. I'll get Nippon to the table at some point. It's on my shelf downstairs, so it's coming at some point. I see the game Los Monfos in your collection behind you. Why is that game in your collection? Why? Because it's about donkeys pooping. Oh yeah. I forgot this was in here. This also is my box for Last Will. Now why, you might ask, is Last Will in the same box as Donkeys Pooping? I forgot this was in here. And that is because this Los Monfos game, or Dong Da Guidong. This game, Last Will's box got destroyed. I'll put it in later. Last Will's box got destroyed by some water leaking. And this one had a lot of empty space. I am moving along here. There's a lot of different comments that I'm jumping through here. And then, of course, they just all moved again. So there we go. Aside from hats and board games, do you collect anything else? Well, I collect ties. I actually stopped wearing long shirts and ties for a while because, to be honest, because the shirts weren't fitting they were fitting too snugly and such because I had gained weight. And so I'm trying to lose that weight to be able to put those back on again. I collect dice. That's it really. I don't like collecting stuff that much because I get too involved in it and I don't want to do that. I collect kids. Tom, you said that if a game isn't being reprinted, then it is not considered by you as great. Well, that's kind of a workaround, says David. Would you include Thunderstone Advance when you say this? I thought you loved it. Well, I have, but Thunderstone Advance has only been out of print for a few years. I'm saying that if 15 years go by and Thunderstone Advance still hasn't been reprinted by that point in time, then it is either outdated, which in 15 years could be possibly true, or it was never really that great to begin with. Great, obviously, is a subjective thing. I'm talking about truly great thought of by a large majority of people. I would not be completely surprised if you see Thunderstone Advance being reprinted in the next 5 years. You can call me on that. I'll say right now. If it is not reprinted in the next 5 years, I will be completely surprised. Now, it would be a third edition probably stuff, but you watch. It will happen. It will probably happen sooner rather than later. But again, it's not been out of print that long. Working from home, do you find it difficult to stop working and playing, or is there always a set time? No, I just do stuff when I do it. What are my top 5 hopes for 2016? Well, I can tell you number 1 hope for 2016 is that the Dice Tower Kickstarter funds, right? Because we'd like to do this for another year. I would also like the Dice Tower Cruise to go well, and Dice Tower Convention. The move to a new convention space, that transition would be well. Those are probably my top 3 gaming-related hopes. In family things, my daughter is going to be a junior in high school. She's going on a missions trip, so I hope that those 2 things go very well. I'm turning 40, so I'm hoping to lose enough weight by the time I get to be 40 years old. My goal was to lose 40 pounds by the time I'm 40, and I've lost 18 so far, maybe. So I'm pretty happy with that. I do know that the second 20 will be much harder to lose, and it's kind of irritating. You look in the mirror, you're like, I don't see any difference, but I do feel better. But we'll see. We'll see. One day at a time. Are any of your daughters interested in arts and crafts, such as drawing or knitting or crocheting? My kids are all interested in different things. Melly likes grids. She likes to color in grids. She likes to do grids on a computer. I bought her a backpack where you make the little square grid. She loves that. My daughter Amy likes coloring. Well, so does Melody. Holly is the one who loves just making stuff. If I buy her a kit, and I bought her some for her birthday, of make your own, like for Christmas she got make your own gummy worms. She goes, make your own crayons, make your own markers. She loves that sort of thing. And the younger ones just love the color. And they love to cut things, which annoys me because then there's cut paper all over the house. Cosmos is best with 6 players, of course. If you get only 1 expansion, get the first one. I think that's called Incursion. There are a lot of games coming out each year. What percentage of those are you able to take a look at? I have no idea. Of games that matter, I would say I see, or at least think about 100% of them. Maybe missing a few, right? Of games, of playing them, of games that matter, that's probably 75% or less. And a lot of those I'm shuffling off to Z or Sam. I just don't have time to play everything. I really, really don't. And that percentage is only go down. Now, of games that actually come out over the course of the year, less than 50%, easy. But I never lose sleep over that. How do you store the components in Blood Rage? Do you put the minis back in their trays, boxes every time? No, I put them in bags and put them in the box, which would irritate everybody I know. What's the status on the Dice Tower Cruise? Well, good question. The Dice Tower Cruise, the contract has been signed. If you are wanting to come, it's going to start on December, I believe it's December 9th, 2016. What's happening right now is we have put the deposit down on the cruise. We have a certain number of rooms that will be available. We're making a store type setup where you will be able to buy the rooms and the people that you want. Right now, our goal is to launch that the second week of January. People who have emailed me and said they want to be put on a list with information about the cruise, those people will be the first people to have a chance to get involved with this. And then after that, we'll open up to the general public if we need to, because there only is so many spots available on the cruise. But things are going very well for that. The cruise is happening. At this point in time, though, it's going to be, how's it going to happen? What's going to happen with it? Can you come? Those details will come. I will tell you that the price for the cheapest price per person is going to be somewhere around $500. That's what it is. It's going to be a 5-day, 4-night cruise. And it's going to be Royal Caribbean from Fort Lauderdale, stopping once in, I forget how to pronounce the name, in Cozumel or Mexico. So those are the details right now. Who does Eric most align with as far as his game preferences? Eric is his own man. I don't know anyone in the Dice Tower who he would align with, because he's not as huge of a fan of the heavy Euro games. He likes them, but not as much as Jason does. He likes a lot of the kiddish games, but not as much as Z does. He's a good counterpoint. He's his own person. How often does your wife get mad at you when you win at a game? I don't think she does, because usually she's winning. What's my favorite Star Wars themed game at the moment? Star Wars Queen's Gambit. Tom will have 42 grandkids? I doubt that. I'm hoping for 15. Double my kids, plus one. What is your thought on the new Kickstarter campaign? Oh, I'm so happy with it, guys. I can't wait to show it to you guys. I've been showing some of the pictures off in the Dice Tower forums of some of this stuff, but it's pretty cool. I'm very pleased with how it's coming out. I just hope now that people actually back it. Does Mayfair Games still own Catan? They do so. Tom, the Flick 'em Up expansion has been out and sold out. Do you have it in the pipeline? Again, these are really easy questions to do a search in the YouTube channel. I've already reviewed that one. If you were to participate in the Battling Tops, would your alter ego change every year? I would never participate in such a thing. Let's see. Have you reviewed game books? I have done it a couple times, yes. Why was there as much uproar about WizKids stopping online sales? There was definitely an uproar about it. You just did not see it because most of the uproar came from the people who played Hero Clicks. And the Dice Master people were a little annoyed too, but those are groups that are not necessarily as mixed with the board games. Those folks have found it very frustrating because it's one thing to change the pricing on online. It's another thing to stop online sales pretty much completely. Like if you want to go buy the new Spider-Man Dice Master set, it's a very difficult thing. And I will say that in this instance, for sure, I certainly disagree with what WizKids did. I feel like cutting out online customers completely is very disadvantageous, especially to those who do not have access to stores. It's just not cool. Will the whole gang be on the cruise? Well, at this point in time, I'm going with my family. Sam is going with his family. Z is going. Jason is going. And Eric is going. Are you more of a collector than a gamer? No, heaven forbid. If I have games that I'm not playing, then they need to go out. Where did you find the gamers to avoid people? How did they learn English so quickly, and where did they go? Now, the gamers to avoid guy did 3 videos. The first one that they did was not in English, and then as they went on, the last one was in English. And I liked them, and I said, hey, can you cut these up, and can we put them on Board Game Breakfast? And then I said, would you be interested in making new ones? And he said yes, but I had not heard from him in a while. So if he makes, like I said, my contributors, if they kind of fade out, they fade out. And I never get on anyone's case. You don't have to keep doing it if you're not interested. Might your Android pet open the door for real pets? Definitely not, because I don't need to feed him. I don't need to worry about who watches him when we leave the house, or my kids accidentally killing him, or taking him to the vet. That's the number one thing. We own dogs. The vet prices are ridiculous. Well, that's interesting. Interesting idea someone just gave me. Is there a company you think is going to make the leap to being a bigger player this year, like Plaid Hat a few years ago? Plaid Hat was a slow growth. They grew to be a big player. It's big enough that they attract the attention of F2Z. I think Cool Mini or Not is definitely moving into that big player stage. Other than Cool Mini or Not, I think we'll see Matago make a move to become a bigger player. Amongst other publishers, Ape is moving up there a little bit into a bigger publishing. Those would be the ones. Yellow. Yellow is certainly trying to become a bigger publisher for sure. Do a lot of people call Melody Melanie? Definitely. It's very tiring. Melody. Tom, do you think there's a chance that Fantasy Flight will pick up the Cypher's old Star Wars game, or even Star Trek, and clean it up and release it as an LCG? No. I don't think there's a chance of that happening at all. Are the game room tours still going on to be a segment on Board Game Breakfast? Says Rick. I haven't seen mine and noticed today there wasn't one. Well, I thought I have played them all, so if I have not played yours and you sent me one, then please send me one and I'll start it up again next week. I'm looking forward to starting Pandemic Legacy next year. Without spoilers, are there any modules in Legacy that you think could be played with house rules in regular Pandemic? Possibly. A lot of the stuff in each month is like its own puzzle, so if you go back and reset that month, perhaps, although I would miss the organic growth of the things that happened over the course of the game. I know some people want to reset Pandemic Legacy up and do it again. Z's played through it twice. Some people say, you know, when you get to the end, just keep playing over and over on that board. Would have a difficult time doing that for reasons you can see if you watch our playthrough. But I'm not as keen on that. I think it was interesting and it was really fun. But I don't know that there's anything in it. Without spoilers, I don't know that I can say more. How much storage in a box customization do you do? I usually just use snack and sandwich bags, old game stuff. Do you use foam or anything else? No, I normally don't use foam or things like that. I just use bags, although I don't like sandwich bags that much. So I buy craft bags. You can buy them straight from Uline. Uline sells great bags. The best sizes are 4x6 and 3x5s, although I have found that I'm particular to the 3x4 bags. I like those, I think, even more. The 3x5 bags are my favorite. 4x6 is fine. 4x5 is a little bit better. But the 4x6 and 3x5 are the most common sizes. I also bought some real big ones. The big ones that are this size are nice because sometimes you put a character card and a whole bunch of starting stuff for those. And you can buy these in lots of 1,000, and it's not super cheap, but at the same time, if you calculate it out per bag, it's really cheap. Which do you hate more, a sore winner or a sore loser? I can't tell you how much I dislike both of them. I guess a sore winner. Who has the best win-loss ratio out of the Dice Tower roster? Oh, definitely Jason. Definitely. It's not even close. When does the Dice Tower Kickstarter go live? That will be 10 a.m. next Monday. So we are less than a week away. What are your thoughts about the dispute between Martin Wallace and Eagle Gryphon Games? Well, normally I would not mention these things, but the dispute's over. Martin Wallace and Eagle Gryphon Games have resolved it. They've given Martin Wallace the rights to brass back. So hooray, a happy ending. What is the oldest game in your collection by published date? It could be You're Bluffing. That one's a pretty old game. By published date, Ave Caesar's older-ish. I don't know. I'm not really sure, actually. Do you have a shelf of shame? I don't. I don't know what that means. A shelf of shame. If I had games that I was ashamed of owning, I don't think that I would own them. Seems pretty obvious to me. Okay, continuing on here. Do you ever check out the games in the Game Crafter? Never, actually. I used to accept some game from the Game Crafter, and then we finally had to cut that off because this was about a year ago or so. I went to Game Crafter and counted the number of games that were available for purchase, and there was over 2,000 of them. That's 2,000 games. There's no quality control in Game Crafter games at all. Now, Game Crafter is a great company, and what they do is a very useful service, and I do not mean any kind of disrespect for them, but there's no way I'm going to review their games. They haven't gone through a developing team or anything like that, and the person who is publishing them obviously either won't put the money behind the game itself to publish it with really nice components, or they haven't found anyone who's willing to pick it up. Either way, I don't think any of the games from Game Crafter would be great, and if they are, that means the company will pick them up and they'll stop using Game Crafter. It's great as a prototyping thing, but I'm not really interested in playing the games from it. There's enough published games out there anyway. There's a lot of published games which are kind of garbage too. Do you ever miss the times of simpler board games? Silly games like Bedbugs, Don't Wake Daddy, etc. Oh, you mean like Pie Face or Pie in the Face? There's still games out there that are silly themes, and they're fine. Have you ever tried playing codenames with illustrations such as Dixit cards? I have not, but that does sound fascinating. That'd be a fun thing to do. Should we expect Season 2 of Pandemic Legacy in 2016? No, the Z-Man told me that that's a 2017 game. The Legacy game for 2016 is going to be Seafall. Would you consider Expedition Sumatra and Dado Dado for Dice Tower Essentials? There's a lot of things that I look at for Dice Tower Essentials, but that is not one at this point in time that I was looking at, although I think that those games are very, very fine games. Has there ever been another board game review that caused you to rethink your opinion? I don't think so. I've met people who've talked to me in the past that made me rethink my opinion. I don't watch a lot of the other reviews because, well, I'm busy making them myself, so I don't always watch them. If you could rename it, what name could you give to the game Super Motherload? I don't know. I'm not very good at names. I usually crowdsource that. You'll notice sometimes I say, what should we call it? Like, even Nothing Personal was not my name. Someone else came up with it, and I thought, boom, there's the name for that. Vicious Fishes, same thing. So I don't have another name for it. I just would have a contest and go, that's the name for it. I got Nothing Personal for Christmas. That's odd. And notice the components are really high quality. Did you insist on this? I did. Do you think that component quality can make or break a game? It can. It can certainly break a game. I don't know that it will make a game. If you had to play the Reaper for your soul, like in Bill and Ted's, what game would you choose? I don't know. That'd be interesting. Cosmic Encounter. I feel like, and Cosmic Encounter. But if it had to be a two-player game, right? Because Death doesn't want to play a multiplayer game because my friends would join me. A two-player game? There'd have to be some luck involved with it, because I would assume that strategically he would beat me. Although the one in Bill and Ted wasn't that smart. Lost Cities. Although the sweat would really be pouring off my face then. A shelf of shame is a shelf that has been unplayed games that just lingers around and never been opened. Oh, I don't have such a thing. I have a review shelf, not a shelf of shame. Those are games that need to be reviewed. Every game in my collection here, I have played them all. So, no shame. Yeah, that's right. I have a garage of shame. But it's not shame because, I mean, really, those are games that I just haven't got around to playing yet. But not shameful. There's just a lot of games to review. 2mm or 4mm on poly bags? Well, this one's up to you. That's a good question. 2mm bags are fine. You'll be fine with those. But I'll tell you, I started buying the 4mm ones, and I love them. They're thick. They feel like they're good quality. They don't get that wrinkliness that some bags get. I will not get 2mm again. There certainly is a difference in price between the 2 and the 4mm, but 4mm bags feel quality. They don't get holes poked through them. They're really good bags. I see you are wearing a South Dakota shirt and that hat. Are you a fan of Teddy Roosevelt? Not necessarily, although he was. I find him a fascinating person. It's that my parents live in Nebraska, so they went to the Badlands and bought me this shirt. So that's that. What game caused the biggest argument or disagreement afterward? Definitely Risk 2010. Or it's 2210. Yeah, wow. We really had a bad argument. That's like 15 years ago, but woohoo, I still remember it. Let's see. Have you guys considered doing frequent streams of live gaming on Twitch or other streaming websites? I personally despise Twitch. I feel that Twitch is I don't like the forced advertisements on it. I don't like the settings on it. I am considering moving to something other than YouTube, but Twitch just has not appealed to me at this point in time as a user of it. And if I don't like something as a user, then I would not ask other people to do the same thing. Any tips or advice for people with large game collections when moving? Get more boxes and put fewer games in a box. Don't pack that box completely full of games, because games get pretty heavy. So keep that in mind. Pack stuff in, putting games in games when moving is not a bad idea, but then note that down. Or years later, you open a game and you're like, that's where that game is, as I just did in front of you. Although that was probably a year ago. I stuck that one in there. Do you ever review a game with a negative review and then play it again, or with an expansion and regret the original decision for a negative review? Well, I not regret, but have changed my mind on games in the past. If I don't like a game, though, I don't play its expansion. If I didn't like the original game, I don't want to go through that experience again. Maybe if someone said this completely changes the game, maybe I would do that. Rice, potato, or pasta, which do you prefer? I like all three of those, but potato is my favorite. It's been a long time since I've had to ban somebody. There we go. Okay, I noticed you give little to no recognition and nothing personal. Why so? It seems to be ranked fairly well on BGG and well liked from others. Because I designed it, and that would be awfully pretentious of me. So you will not see that on one of my top 10 lists unless I do a top 10 list games I've ever designed, which would be a very, very short list. What happens if you get rid of a game and you want to review the expansion? That happens a lot, actually. I go to Jason and I say, Jason, I need to review this expansion. I know you sold the base game. Can I borrow it? That's almost always what happens. Or sometimes Sam or Z has it, but it's almost always Jason. Is there a point where you would consider reviewing a Kickstarter game from an unknown new publisher? Yes, there is that point. When would that point be? I'll say 2097. I'm serious. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I get email. I have it. It is on our webpage. We do not review games from Kickstarters, and I would get an average. I get a question about it a day, on average. I have a new Kickstarter going up, and I know you don't normally do this, but will you do mine anyway? Or I have a Kickstarter going up, and you seem to be a good person to get a review. And I'm very flattered that the people are emailing. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know what else I can do. I mean, I almost want to put that at the top of the dice tower. By the way, we don't review Kickstarter games because I really get asked a lot about it. But I don't wish to do it. My life has been so much happier since I stopped doing Kickstarter previews. It really has been. And I'm too busy doing regular reviews anyway. If I did Kickstarter previews again, which I'm not, but if I did, I would only insist on doing them straightforward. I'd be like, I'm going to review your game, but you may not like what I'm going to say. I'm doing okay keeping up with the questions this time, but that's mostly because I'm skipping a lot of them. Can you give me any ideas how I can get a Nothing Personal copy? I live in Brazil and the best shop to import from Cool Stuff doesn't sell it. Well, Cool Stuff actually did sell it. They finally worked out. Nothing Personal was available on Cool Stuff and it sold out like that. It's pretty much sold out right now. If it comes back in print at Cool Stuff, I'll announce it on Twitter. So that's all I can tell you there. Are we going to see a review of Marvel Legendary Secret Wars Volume 2? Yes, not this week, perhaps next week. My buddy made a neat card game and wants me to help him playtest it. Is there some kind of checklist you'd recommend I go through or things I should look for? No, not really. You need to let him know, is it fun? And if it's not fun, you need to be very clear, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. I didn't like this. Now realize that you may be the only person who doesn't like those things. So don't get upset if he does not take your opinions. But that's all you are going to do is just give him opinions. You might want to write them down during the course of the game or whatever. Also, try to keep in your input until the game is over. So if there's something that's really strong, write it down. And at the end of the game, say, this is why I didn't. And if there's something you liked, say that too, because overflooding the person with a bunch of negative stuff is not a fun thing. What are your thoughts on Ninja All-Stars? My review for that game will also be coming out either next week or the week after that. I don't think that people are going to like my review on Ninja All-Stars very much. I have to say it's one of the biggest disappointments of a game that I've ever played. Wow. I was really... Maybe I was expecting something different from the game, but I want to play it one more time before I rip it up. But yeah, great miniatures, great miniatures. Oh, there's my review. Wonderful miniatures. Any interest in 3D printing? Oh, I love 3D printer. I would want one just to play with it, but I can't really afford one right now, so I don't have one. But when I become more affordable in the future, I'll get one, and then I'll print components, and oh man, I'll have so much fun with it. Okay, Andrew just said, moving from YouTube, worst business decision ever. No video channel online comes close, you would lose any chance of people randomly finding you. That is not what I said. I'm not moving my channel from YouTube. I'm considering moving my live play to something else that when I'm done doing it on that site, I would then put it on YouTube for people to find. Don't worry, I would not leave YouTube. Worst business decision ever. I think my worst business decision ever would just be to quit, right? Let's see. When do you feel that board game was at its lowest? I don't know. It's been seemingly climbing ever since I can remember, so I don't know. What's my least favorite Dice Masters set? Probably the Green Lantern one, because it's so insular. Everything is like, if this person has this ring and this person has this ring, that's just problematic. Terra or Timeline Challenge? Which of those would I like better? That's a good question. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. They're both really good educational games. I still have Timeline Challenge though. That made the cut into my collection. Terra was just missed it by the hair. So I guess we'll have to go with Timeline Challenge. But to be fair, Timeline Challenge made the cut because I already have tons and tons of Timeline cards. As a base game, probably Terra is better. Will Onitama make it to Europe? I believe so. I don't see why it wouldn't. What Xenoshift expansion would I recommend? Well, in this case, I'm going to be reviewing those this week, so keep an eye out for that review. Whew. I thought I was catching up on questions, and then I got a whole pile more of those. I'm now known as Destroyer of Worlds, Crusher of Meeples. What do you do with the games that don't make your shelf? An often asked question. I really need to put together a frequently asked questions video. But I keep them all, I store them all, and I sell them all for really cheap prices at Dice Tower Convention. Another reason to go. I know it's sold out, don't get on my case. Clout Fantasy. A lot of contributors mentioned Clout Fantasy. Have you played that game? I have. What do you think of it? I think it's really fun, except that there's not enough of it, right? There needs to be, I wish they had stuck with it. For those of you who don't know what Clout Fantasy was, it was like poker chips of forces, then you threw them down in the area, and then depending on how they land and stuff, they fought each other. Really cool, asymmetrical, quality poker chips, just never took off. They gave out like free starter armies at Origins one year, and I remember going around trying to get as many of them as I possibly could, and I kept it for a while. I liked it. Which members of the Dice Tower are going to UK Expo? That would be me and Sam Healy. I found out the same guy, Francis Tresham, designed Civilization and started the 18XX genre. That's amazing. It certainly is. Does Sid Meier owe him royalties, or at least a thank you? I've read up on this subject, but for some reason it's slipping my mind. I believe there was Civilization and Sid Meier's Civilization are very different things. They both have the same idea. I don't think anyone was stealing anyone's idea there. I know that one of them influenced the other one somewhat, but they're very different games in how they work out. What's my favorite color? Dark purple. Are there any foods you traditionally eat every year on New Year's? Yes! I started this last year and it was so amazing. I'm doing it again. There's a place near us that makes different appetizers and stuff, and so I order from them, and they make lasagna on a stick, which I was like, whatever, okay, let's get it. It was great. It's essentially what it sounds like. Lasagna on a stick. Lasagna on a stick's a good thing. So that's my New Year's tradition. Other than that, cheese sticks, whatever. I don't really care. I'm shooting fireworks, so I don't care what the food is. Did you see the Doctor Who Christmas special? I do not. I don't have TV. I only have internet, and I don't believe it's on the internet yet. If it is, correct me, and I will go watch it. Although I've not yet watched the last 2 seasons, so I'm a little bit behind on Doctor Who. This is my fault, because I keep telling the kids, let's watch them together. Because they're like, yeah, let's watch Doctor Who. And then one of my kids does not like Doctor Who because it gives her bad dreams. So we have to watch it without her, which does not happen all the time. I will not be at the New York Toy Fair, sorry. Do you follow any of the pop culture from Korea? I don't. I would watch a good Korean movie if it comes out. My wife really likes the Korean TV shows. Okay, I shouldn't have said that 98% thing in my board game breakfast today. I'm not saying 98% is for everyone. I'm saying one company told me 98% of their sales came from stores. I would wager for most board game companies I've talked to have said that it's online and then stores. I don't know what the percentage is. That could be 30, 70, 40, 60, or what have you, but it's definitely more. But I do know that if you go and talk to a store owner who sells a lot, and he says, I would sell even more if it wasn't for online gaming. And you go to the next store owner, and he goes, online gaming is, I hate online stores. Online stores are driving me crazy. After a while, you might say, well, if I want to help these guys out, I need to do something online gaming stores. I'm not saying that is a correct philosophy. I disagree with it, but that is probably what happened. Wow, I really fell behind on questions here. Okay. Include the 3D printer as a possibility in stretch goals. Not really. Again, see, a 3D printer would be something that I would be messing with for myself and stuff. I don't want to ask these. When we ask for things for the Dice Tower, we're trying to get things that we really need for the Dice Tower. I mean, last year we made an unofficial thing that I would take my family on vacation if we reach a certain goal, and I did, but that still feels kind of cheesy. I want you guys to support the show, not necessarily me. I mean, by supporting the show, you support me, but I'm not here to get cool stuff. Ha ha ha. No, we're here, like, so if a 3D printer I thought helped the show, I would get it. I don't think it does at this point. It'd be more of a toy. Unless I printed out cool things to show you every week, but even still, I don't, that's kind of trying to justify the thing. Do we need new microphones? Yes. Okay, that will help you guys. That's why I would get that. French games seem very unique. Would you consider them more Amerithrash, Euro, or their own thing completely? Definitely their own thing completely. I think some of the best games in the world come from France, for sure. Cindy Loop says, you are fat. I know. Oh, no, wait, maybe you're fat, or Oh, the city of I'm very confused by that. Okay. If I got sad every time someone called me fat, well, actually, it doesn't happen that often, but if I got sad every time someone said something mean about me, oh, I love it when you go on BGG cracks me up by this. Someone starts a thread on who's your favorite reviewer, like every month it happens. There's one going on right now. And I love this because every time someone comes in to say who's your favorite reviewer, a bunch of people come in to specifically tell you who their favorite reviewer is not. Like, I just can't stand anything Tom Vasel does. Thank you. If you get upset by these things, I wouldn't. Insults. I remember you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks on you, and words don't hurt me. I'm in a very odd mood today. Sorry. Is Viceroy still in your collection? It is. Yeah, I need to make a video fact and then put a link to that and say, frequently asked questions, go here. How do you get review copies? How do I become a reviewer? What do you do with your games? How do you decide if a game goes in your collection or not? I really need to answer all that stuff somewhere else. When am I hiring Jason full-time? I frankly cannot hire Jason full-time. But, and this is kind of a bit of a spoiler for our Kickstarter, one of our stretch goals is going to allow me to get the equipment for Jason so that he can help us with some of the things that, because he's really good at making all the little, you know, screen wipes and transitions and all that jazz. He just doesn't have the equipment at home. He has equipment at work, but he's not allowed to use that equipment for anything else. So if I can get him the equipment, he can help produce that. That would help us out a lot. Just got my meeple pillow. Will you be getting one? I think I'm getting one, but I haven't got it yet. Sorry if this is too personal, but is this your family's only source of income? If you mean the Dice Tower in general, then yes, my wife does not have a outside job. I almost foolishly said my wife does not work. That is not the case. She works very hard, but she does not have a job that provides an income. She has a job which is way greater than any job any of you or me has, and that is taking care of 7 children. All food is better on a stick, maybe. And I don't think my diet will suffer too much on New Year's because I'll eat a very low calorie diet that day. I'll have a salad for lunch and probably skip supper or eat a snack bar for supper. And then I'll have snacks and stuff. I'll splurge a little, and I found that planned splurging, like on Christmas Day, I said, I'm going to have 2 plates of food for Christmas dinner, and I'm going to have the ice cream. I did, but then the next day, and I exercised, and I've been very good ever since Christmas, and then I didn't even go up weight on Christmas. It just stayed the same that day. So I found that was the best way to handle that. And also gives me something to look forward to. I'm like, ooh, New Year's Day. That's right, I'm eating salad now because New Year's Day I'm eating lasagna on a stick. Before Dice Tower, how did you find out about new board games to buy? I went to Board Game Geek. That's usually where I went to find things out. Before Board Game Geek, Games Magazine. Oh, wow. We're 5 minutes overtime. I've done this 2 weeks in a row now. I guess the live Q&As. Hey, folks, now listen. Come back tonight. I believe it's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my wife will be joining me for a Q&A. Now, this one will probably not go an hour. And y'all better be nice to her and don't try to ask her about, like, what? Tell us all the bad things about Tom. She'll probably tell you anyway. But be nice to her. If you want to see, I really had to plead to get her on because she does not like being on camera. But she'll come on briefly to talk about whatever you guys might be interested in because she doesn't play as many games these days. She's busy doing other things. So she'll be back tonight for that. So we'll see you guys then. And don't forget, there will be more Q&As coming this week. I believe there's Q&As Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after that. And of course, we have game reviews coming your way, so there's more stuff on the way. So anyhow, folks, I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. New Year's is coming, and 2016 is starting. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching, I almost said Board Game Breakfast. You've been watching live Q&A at the Dice Tower. Should all acquaintance